For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Christopher Lindsay, an Edison player from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, and it is my goal to win my first ever Ultimate Time Wizard title. With this being my third Ultimate Time Wizard event, having managed top 8 at both YCS Indy in 2023 and the most recent NAWCQ in Austin, Texas, I'm going to be preparing for this event like never before. Every Friday up until the event, I will be posting a new episode showing my preparations for this event, including testing meta decks, discussing pros and cons of playing them, side deck patterns, and more as I try and decide what deck I'm going to bring, as well as how I'm going to best tackle the meta. Over the next 5 weeks, I will be putting aside all of my other hobbies, especially retro gaming, and put all of my effort into testing and preparing for the event in the hopes of breaking through the top 8 barrier and winning not only my first event, but the first ever Canadian Ultimate Time Wizard title. This is my road to YCS Niagara Falls. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 3 of Road to Winning a YCS Niagara Falls. This week I tasked myself with playing both Dream Frogs and Hero Frogs, and while I did get to play it a little bit, I didn't really get to capture too much footage as it was a pretty busy week. I was getting a lot of work done on my side deck guide, which if you haven't checked out that video, please go do it. It's on the channel. It's one of the best videos I've done to this date. It's probably the best video I've done to this date. And I just put a lot of effort into it. It's a fully edited video. There's no face cam or anything like that. Put a lot of time and effort into that, so please go check it out. But as a result, between that and, you know, real life, day-to-day, working full-time job, I didn't really get to test with the frogs too much this week. But I didn't want to delay this episode because there's certain discussion points on the frog deck that I have that I don't think an extra week being able to test this deck would change my opinion of it for this event. That is both versions of frogs, Dream Frogs and Hero Frogs, that have shown success in Ultimate Time Wizards recently. But yeah, so I've played frogs in the past. I've tried out the Dream Frog list when it first topped after Nats because that deck was crazy. I lost to it in Swiss in round 7, the guy who ended up winning it all, and I was amazed by it. So I did test it a bit, just for fun, just casually, after Nationals. And then Hero Frogs I've played and tried before. I've had the cards in paper for a while. I haven't taken it to any tournaments or anything, but with frogs, and here I'll switch my view here. This right here is a Dream Frog list. This is one of James Ark's lists that he made a video on, so shout out to him for this list. I didn't create this. Like I said, for this series, I'm mostly just net decking lists from popular names on YouTube or winning lists, topping lists, stuff like that, just because I don't have enough experience with the deck to really, you know, sink my teeth in and try and, you know, create something of my own that I'm proud of and worth sharing to you guys. But yeah, so when it comes to frogs, both variants, but we'll start with Dream Frogs here. Of the big 3, Vayu, Blackwings, and Frog variants, Frogs is by far the most technical. It is the deck that I feel like you can make mistakes and lose. Like, there's a clear separation between, like, when I play against a good Frog player versus a bad Frog player. Bad Frog players, I feel like I can't lose when I'm playing my Amaryllis deck, but against a good Frog player, like, you can tell, like, when the plays are made correctly with this deck, it is a significant jump in skill. Versus Vayu and Blackwings, which are decks that are very strong on their own. They just play powerful cards like Dark-Armed Dragon and Chaos Sorcerer, Return, you know, Blackwing with Whirlwind with Shura is just crazy. It doesn't take much to be able to make the right play in those decks. And those decks are, while still skillful, and a better player will obviously perform better with these lists. I find that they're easier to play. Like, it's less testing would have to go into me bringing, let's say, Blackwings to an event than it would frogs. And part of the reason why I'm still doing this discussion, despite not getting to test a lot, is I have my mind made up that I would not bring frogs to YCS Niagara, any variant of it, because despite playing them in the past, this is a deck that I feel like even if I had the ability to, which I don't because, you know, life outside Yu-Gi-Oh! if I had the time to test and like play this like religiously for every spare hour I have from now until the event, I still feel like I wouldn't be confident enough in the deck, or in my ability to play the deck, I should say, to really do well with it at YCS Niagara. Yeah, like maybe I could have a good run, but like I don't feel like I would have a better shot at playing it than, let's say, something like Vayu or Black Wings that would be easier to pick up and learn how to play well quickly, or a deck like Amaryllis, which I'm very, very familiar with, despite Frogs being the clear #1 deck in the format at this point, in my eyes. But yeah, Dream Frogs, I feel like this is probably the version of Frogs that if I was to play Frogs, I would love to play, because I love synchros, I love synchro summoning, I love Light and Darkness Dragon, and being able to play Fishborg and Light and Darkness Dragon in the same deck is just really cool. I also love that Death Frog has made an appearance in Frogless and is kind of being seen as a card that should be played in not just Dream Frogs, but maybe other Frog builds as well, because it's just such cool utility having a 1900 Frog monster that you can tutor from the deck, that, especially in this deck, gives you access to larger synchro plays, like going into your 8s, your 6s, and 7s and stuff like that. This list here, like just looking at, like this is similar to something that I would want to play. I do like the idea of playing Salvage, because I think there's a lot of really cool turn 1 plays that become possible with Salvage. But as far as like Dream Frog lists go, like, you know, like they play your Monarchs, you play your full Frog package, you set up a bunch of Duplocks over and over and over again, and that's kind of the thing that I find separates it from Hero Frogs more than the Fishborg lines that you have, is that you break the Duplock against Hero Frogs, that's the end of it typically. I don't think they really have a way to recycle and do anything once you break the Duplock. But in this deck, you can just Duplock again. So you have to constantly expend resources to out the Duplock in this deck while they amass turn over turn card advantage and just draw into more of their big guys, their Caiuses, their Light and Darkness Dragons, their Junk Synchrons, and make those crazy plays that that they're able to make. As far as Hero Frogs go, this is a Fraser Smith list that I net decked from one of his topping lists. This might have been his rally winning list. I'm not exactly sure, so don't quote me on that, but this is a Fraser Smith list. I don't know why I'm missing a card in the side deck. Not sure what happened there, but this is one that I'm more familiar with. So I would say if I was to bring Frogs to Niagara Falls, I would probably bring Hero Frogs, just because it's more familiar to me. I've played this list more than the Dream Frog list, and I feel like it's a bit more streamlined in what it's trying to accomplish. Like, you're trying to just set up an early Duplock, draw into your Monarchs or your Miracle Fusions, and just get your hero package online as soon as possible, and then just control the board with absolute zero. It's a lot more streamlined than the Dream Frogs list. So I feel like if I was to play a list of Frogs for YCS Niagara, this is the kind of list I would play. It's super strong. Like it is what it is. It's Hero Frogs. Like at this point, this is the kind of deck you should expect to run into on a tournament run, especially at an Ultimate Time Wizard. But any big major tournament, I would expect to run into a deck list like this. I think that this is the kind of deck I could see myself playing next year in future events. For those of you who don't know, this is probably my last big in-person tournament of the year, and probably into early next year, as I am planning a wedding. So I'm not really going to have the time to travel and play in person, at least. So I'm hoping maybe I'll get into some more online tournaments over the winter break and stuff like that. But the way I see it is, if I was to pick up Frogs, I would probably start with Hero Frogs, just because of the familiarity. Absolute Zero just being a blowout card in this format and just being hard for decks to answer and deal with. And I also feel like it's not so much that it's easier, but like I feel like there's still creativity to be had with both of these decks. That's one of the big things. And if you watch episode 2 where I talked about Vayu feels solved. It feels like you can't really make adjustments to that deck within like 2, 3, 4 cards, and it's usually like, oh, do you play like this trap or max out on this one? With the Frog list, there's definitely room for improvement. I feel like the Hero Frog list has less room for improvement. I feel like it's a bit more put together, like the hero package, like the concise, like good ones. Like you can debate if you want to add an alias or something. Some lists might not play 2 Junk Synchron, stuff like that. this list is a lot more figured out, I believe, versus the Dream Frogs list. This I feel like is still like there's a lot of room to be explored. Like, do you play Avarice or Salvage, things like that, different monarchs, do you max out on lads, do you play stuff like Thessalos, maybe try and control the board with that, hand rip your opponent, do stuff with Spiritual Water here. But yeah, I just feel like Frogs was never going to be an option for Niagara Falls, and I know this video is kind of me just yapping and rambling on and on. I kind of just wanted to get a video out. I don't want to stray away from the weekly discussions on decks that I've considered for YCS Niagara, and that's kind of what the series is. It's not necessarily informative to the people, it's more just, hey, this is kind of what I'm going over and looking and considering for my next big event. As a player that's done well in the previous 2 Ultimate Time Wizards, I just thought it would be a neat series where I can talk about different lists that I would consider and might consider for future events. And I can say with certainty that, like, I might see myself playing Frogs in the future. It is a very fun deck. It feels like a modern deck, or at least it doesn't feel like a modern deck, but of all of Edison, like, this and Dragon Turbo feel like the decks that are most like a modern deck. Like, they just do unfair things that other decks in the format can't really do. And they still offer that creativity to kind of deck build and change some things up to kind of make the list your own, versus stuff like Value that's a bit more streamlined. But because I don't want this video to just be me yapping for 10 minutes and then saying see you later, see you next week when I go over Black Wings, but where is it? Let me go to my dual records. Here's just a fun video. This was a video of me playing against my buddy who is playing Dream Frogs in this video. But I'm playing Amaryllis because I was trying to play some Frog matches with him and I was just misplaying like crazy, and I didn't feel like it was worth showing a video like that or games like that to you guys, because it's just misplay after misplay, misclicking here, misclicking there, like taking back plays. Like, it was just a kind of a messy game to watch. So I figured, you know what, I'll queue up with one Amaryllis thing and just kind of get the good vibes back and going. And sure enough, it went 2-0 in my favor. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. I do know I win the match, but yeah, it's just fun just to show off some more Amaryllis gameplay, because a lot of you that follow the channel, it is pretty dominated by Amaryllis content at this point. So I expect that you are interested in the Amaryllis content if you are a returning viewer. So yeah, so just kind of sit back and watch and enjoy the rest of this duel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Cheers.